Hello everyone, I am James and I am the founder of Kawaii, and we make sort of fun accessories for you in your home. That's our tagline. And our first product line was called Cushion Friends. And I'll be taking you through how to plan, design and launch a unique product in a crowded marketplace. Crowded definitely being the right word because I got lost on the way back from lunch yesterday, so in Hall 20. To start off, we'll cover the planning and designing of a new product. This was the first ever image that we did before we started. When we first started, we knew initially that we wanted a strong colour set that we couldn't find in existing markets. I was shopping for some cushions for my house, and nobody was doing brightly coloured cushions in the same collection. We'd have ended up with like a mismatch of products, so I thought, there's something there to be explored. I have an interest in the sort of kawaii scene in Japan. I just find it interesting. At the end of the day, you've got to be, if you're developing a product, it's got to be something that you're interested in doing. Otherwise, it's so complicated that you'll just lose motivation. So you've got to have an interest in what you're doing. That's a key factor. This is the finished article of one of our products, and if you can see from the sketch to the actual photograph, there's quite a long journey. We focused heavily on the actual design of the print, which is quite simplistic, but there's a lot that goes into it in the back end. And we also predominantly feature the Made in the UK and Kawaii branding, which is important. This is the, if you like, the construction of that shape. The ratios in Kawaii design are very important. The mouth always pretty much has to line up with the bottom of the eyes, and that gives it that sort of key ratio that makes it cute to the viewer. And there's several other aspects of the design, like where it's positioned in the cushion and how it looks in relation to the negative space as well. So it's quite important. Like I say, they do look simple, but there's a lot of work that actually goes into that. This is another one of our range called Mimi, and again you can see the same principles apply, and we try to keep it consistent wherever possible. This is the complete set. One of the hardest things we had was finding a supplier of all these colours from the same place. They didn't actually have this green colour, so we had to get them to dye it, and they did an 800-metre roll for us just for this range, so that was useful. I'd say that when you are designing and developing this, you need the strong supply chain to be able to follow through. Absolutely. It's good to build your relationships with your suppliers. Like I said, they dyed us the 800-metre roll, which they probably wouldn't have done for us if we didn't have such a good working relationship, and we hit it off pretty well. See, branding's also really important. At the end of the day, people are going to be using your product, I think. So you've got to show it, people sort of having fun with it and using it in its sort of environment. Although we sell cushions, we didn't want to just promote them on a sofa, just lying there. So we wanted people to be like using them, having fun with them. That ties in with the name, the Cushion Friends. So, we wanted to like jazz it up a bit and show it off. Again, it's another example of our branding. It's great for social media. It's also important when you're developing a new product. You've got to push it out there in as many channels as possible. I don't do the social media part because I have no idea how fast the language moves on these days. So, you get people hashtagging like squad goals and stuff, which literally I have no idea what that means. But people on my team do, and they can push this sort of material out, and it gets a lot of likes and feedback and stuff, and in our target market, which is great. So inspiration. This is the sort of Harajuku kawaii scene, which is for me a little bit too energetic and a bit crazy. I've got a background in interior design and product design, and I sort of follow more the way sort of Apple design things, or Dieter Rams, if you've heard of him. Very sort of only have something on your product if it needs to be there. Like I said, this is a bit chaotic, so I see sort of our products as the junction between these two spaces. So as I was saying before, I was very interested in how the Twitter logo is constructed. It's a series of circles that all intersect to form their logo. Obviously, you've got the simplistic sort of design of Hello Kitty, and these are some old Braun shavers in the 1960s, but Braun were actually the first company to pioneer this sort of minimalist design and only having details on the product that you actually need to be there. So all of this sort of, as I showed you before with the construction of Kiki's face here, it's very similar. Only the details on the cushion that need to be there, so our branding, the face and the cushion itself. So it's 10 Commandments for Good Design by Dieter Rams, who used to work at Braun. Not all of them are always applicable to what you might be doing, but we've tried to tick off as many of these as possible. So we think our product is quite innovative because it's very bright. There's nothing else quite like it on the market. It is useful because at the end of the day it is a cushion and you can use it as such, but it's also, gives you a bit of fun when you walk into the room. It's definitely aesthetic. It's understandable. Like I said, we tried to make it as simple as possible, but retaining all of the key features of Kawaii design. It is obtrusive, I'll give you that. But our product it's not essentially like something that you'd use day to day, like a consumer product, like a microphone, for example. You wouldn't want it really complicated to use, but it's honest, so our product is completely sustainable, and we found that important when we were developing it. We didn't want to sort of make something that couldn't be, recycled. So we talk about that quite a lot. It is long-lasting. It's thorough down to the last detail. We put a lot of effort into our design. And make sure it's all, like I say, it's only got the details that need to be there. And again, little design is possible. He focuses a lot on the less but better sort of line, but it's all important. So first steps to export. I'd say you've got to build a solid supply chain. If you get a large order and you can't fulfill it, it's going to be embarrassing and annoying. So you've got to make sure that when you get that order, everything's ready to go. So get your volume pricing, make sure that your suppliers can supply enough of what you need, etc. I'd say without our trade advisor, we wouldn't be doing any of this. He's got us a lot of contacts and leads, and interesting shows and things like that. So he's also he got us a gig in Hong Kong doing a trade show, which was like pretty important for us because that's sort of near to where we take our inspiration from. Anytime you can get into a trade show is great because obviously that gets you the chance to pitch your product to everybody that's attending. Related events, we've got things like Comic-Con, and there's a show called Hyper Japan that we go to, but anything that any sort of event that isn't a trade show that you could market your product at and show it off, it's important to get to those. They're quite low cost normally. And I'd say before you start exporting, if you're going to, it doesn't hurt just to learn some sort of regional customs before you get going. Like, for example, in Japan, you hand your business cards over with 2 hands and accept it, and it just shows it's like a mark of respect. If in this country, we might just scribble something on them or write an email address on it or something, and they're not interested in that. So, I'd say before you go into the markets that you're interested in, it's definitely worth reading up on those sorts of customs that they have.